24 years ago, a 19-year-old girl disappeared after she walked out of an underground parking near the train station in Beijing. Her body was found 7 years later, and then the police found 3 suspects who admitted their criminal facts, but the court acquitted them. What actually happened? Guo Xiaoyue was born in a rich family in Beijing in 1980. When she was 19, she worked at a communications technology company which was located in the Lianfa building on the west side of the train station. On October 7, 1999, Guo went to her friend's house for dinner and left at 9:30 p.m.
是9点一刻吃完的饭，他起身说要走，刚吃完就要走，然后他说那我再陪你到9点半，然后正好我就看表嘛，我说好，那咱们9点半我送你下去。
Afterward, Guo drove to her company. She parked her car in the underground parking lot of the train station and walked towards the Lianfa building where the company was located. There was a bank on the first floor of the Lianfa building. That night, the security guard of the bank saw Guo walking towards the Lianfa building.
无意中朝外面扫了一眼，看到一辆车停着，然后下来个女士。
The security guard of the Lianfa building also saw a tall, well-dressed, short-haired girl waiting for the elevator at around 10 p.m.
这一会儿我一看，就那门上站着一个人，这一会儿不见了，没人了。
当时大概是几点？
就12点。
The description he gave matched Guo's characteristics. After that, no one had seen her again. The distance from where Guo parked her car to the Lianfa building is only 50 or 60 meters. What happened during this period? Guo's family couldn't reach her for a long time, so they called the police. After receiving the report, the police immediately began to search, but unfortunately, there was no clue. At that time, the police analyzed the following possibilities. First, she ran away from home on one's own, but after investigation, it was found that Guo lived with her parents and had a good relationship with her family. There was no abnormality before that, and she didn't take any luggage or belongings, so this possibility was ruled out. The second possibility was that she was kidnapped. It was 1999, when there were very few people with cars in China, and Guo, who was 19 years old, had her own car. The police suspected that she was kidnapped. However, her family didn't receive any ransom demand, so the police also ruled out this possibility. The third possibility was that she was cheated into going away by an acquaintance. The police checked all of Guo's social relationships one by one. Eventually, they found nothing suspicious, so the possibility of her being taken away by an acquaintance was also ruled out. At that time, Guo's disappearance had become a mystery. Although the media reported and issued missing person notices, no one had provided any clues about Guo. Since then, Guo's parents started an aimless search, but still no any discovery. In this way, 7 years passed in a blink of an eye. The Lianfa building next to the train station changed its owner, and the Lianfa building was also renamed Beijing Building, but there was still no news of Guo. On July 10, 2006, a cleaner called the police, saying that there was a body in the ventilator room on basement 2 of the Lianfa building. Upon receiving the report, the police immediately rushed to the scene and cordoned off basement 2. They found that the skin on the face of the body was attached to the bones, and the clothes on the body were full of holes after being corroded. Judging from the white bra left on the body, it could be determined that it was a female body. The deceased had a long and narrow wound on the body, surrounded by black-brown blood clots. There was a large pile of dried blood on the ground. The police also found a paper bag near the body containing several pieces of paper, vitamin supplements, and a Beijing newspaper of October 6, 1999. The deceased also wore a watch, necklace, and bracelet, which were still intact despite being rusted. Lianfa Building, October 6, 1999, a young female body. These 3 elements made the police think of Guo, who disappeared 7 years ago. Therefore, the police immediately contacted Guo's parents. Soon after, they recognized that these items found on the body belonged to their daughter, Guo. After DNA testing, it was also confirmed that the female body was Guo, who had been missing for 7 years. When Guo first disappeared, basement 2 of the Lianfa building was closed and under construction, so the police didn't search there thoroughly at that time. But who killed Guo? Why did this? The forensic examination results showed that the deceased was struck on the head and face by a blunt object multiple times, resulting in skull and brain injuries and death. Due to the decomposition and drying of the corpse, the possibility of other means of death couldn't be ruled out. In addition, the deceased had been sexually assaulted before her death. The place where the body was dumped was very hidden, and people who were not familiar with this building couldn't find it. Based on this information, the police believed that this was a random crime committed by a stranger and that the killer was very familiar with the surroundings of the scene where the body was dumped. At the same time, the police learned that in October 1999, basement 2 of the building was still under construction, and outsiders couldn't enter. Only some construction workers lived there. Finally, the police determined the list of more than 100 suspects who were either familiar with the scene of the crime or were the construction workers there at that time. In addition, the police took a group of construction workers from Sichuan province as key investigation targets, as they lived on basement 2 at that time. Since 7 years had passed since the crime occurred, most of the evidence on the scene was completely destroyed, and the construction workers who participated in the construction at that time scattered all over the country. The police could only search for suspects one by one according to the list. On the 14th day of the investigation in Sichuan province, the police encountered an old man who was on duty at the construction site in 1999. The old man said this to the police. On October 6th, they must have done something bad. The police immediately asked the old man who he was referring to. The old man said that on the night of October 6th, 4 workers who lived in the basement watched porn together and then went out. They got back very late and they all looked very panicky. It had been already 7 years. The old man was still able to accurately recall the date, indicating that the situation left a deep impression on him. Although the time the old man said was 1 day earlier than the time Guo disappeared, the police decided to follow this clue and investigate carefully, since it was a long time ago, and there may be some mistakes in his memory. On September 7, 2006, the police found one of the suspects mentioned by the old man, Yang. The first thing Yang said to the police was, "That thing has nothing to do with me." Since the police's previous investigation was conducted in secret and didn't disclose the purpose of the inquiry, Yang's response was very suspicious. Then, the police conducted a series of questioning on him. Faced with the police's questions, Yang couldn't justify himself. Finally, he confessed to the crime of raping and killing a girl near the train station in 1999, and he also revealed 2 other suspects. Yang, born in 1956 in Sichuan province, worked on basement 2 of the Lianfa building in 1999. The other 2 suspects were Zhao, born in 1955, and Wang, born in 1964, both of whom were from Sichuan. According to Yang's statement, the police arrested 2 other suspects in Beijing on September 9, 2006. They also confessed to their crimes in October 1999. The 3 men confessed that they met Guo at the stairs of the building at around 10 p.m. on October 7th. They dragged Guo into a room on basement 2 and gang-raped her. In order to not be reported, the 3 men hit Guo's head and face several times with iron pipes, causing Guo to suffer brain damage and die. They then dumped her body in the ventilator room. On December 21, 2007, 3 suspects were charged with rape and intentional homicide. During the filing and examination process, the defendant Wang died of cerebral infarction in December 2007, and the court terminated the trial of Wang. On December 19, 2008, the court rendered a first-instance judgment in this case, finding the defendants Zhao and Yang not guilty due to insufficient evidence. Subsequently, the procuratorate filed a protest to the court, and the court upheld the original judgment after trial. The two suspects were acquitted and released in court, but the suspect had already admitted the facts of the crime. Why would the court acquit him? It turned out that in court, both defendants had overturned their previous confessions, denying killing and raping the victim. In addition, there are contradictions in the descriptions of the three suspects about the process of holding the victim hostage in the basement, the order of raping the victim, and the murder weapon. The police brought the three suspects to the crime scene for identification separately. Wang twice identified different locations. Yang didn't identify the location of the body, and Zhao and Wang identified different locations of the body, which didn't match the location of the body found. Moreover, in the places where they said they killed the victim, the police didn't find any trace evidence related to the case. In addition, the mental state of the three suspects was not normal. Wang's answers were not clear, and he was suspected of having mental disorders. Zhao was mentally excited during the interrogation and often tittered inexplicably. Yang looked dull and spoke unclearly during his detention. He was diagnosed with borderline intelligence. Regarding the rape, the police tested the underwear on the body, but failed to detect semen stains and related traces. Yang had repeatedly confessed that "I stabbed the victim's left chest with a knife and killed her." Wang also repeatedly confessed to stabbing the victim's chest and abdomen with a knife. However, the autopsy results showed that there was no damage to the corresponding parts of the body, no hard scratches on the ribs, and no punctures on the corresponding parts of the clothes. The two defendants repeatedly confessed to stabbing the victim with a knife, which was inconsistent with the facts proven by objective evidence. The management staff of Lianhua building said, "There are two entrances to the basement too, one from the north and one from the south. In 1999, the two entrances were locked by the construction department. None of the three suspects had keys to unlock them. How did they take the victim and enter the basement too?" Although the victim was indeed murdered, there were too many contradictions and doubts in the confessions of the three suspects. In the end, they were acquitted according to the law. Guo's case is twists and turns and has returned to the starting point. Now the killer is still at large, and the case has become a cold case.